times they have them and they have red, blue, and green, and black dots around it. People color them different ways, and it's beautiful to look at. So it's so nice to have these instruments that are just really interesting to hold and to look at and just to admire, you know? And even that's enough for me sometimes, just to look at these things. And then to learn how to play them is really special. And this is a good one because the technique is so unusual for me, you know, like I just stick on it, you know, so I just learned how to play originally like this, you know, da 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 da, you know, and then I played match grip, and I hit things, play things, rolls. But when I got this in my hand, I didn't know how to play it, you know, like you know, you kind of have to find your way. But then I started learning by watching and studying, and I had some like mentors and heroes of mine that I would watch. Percussionist, Brazilian percussionist, his name is Nana Vasconcelos, and he played with this great guitarist Pat Metheny, and I got a chance to play with him just a little bit. But he lived in New York, and he's Brazilian. He lived in New York for about 20 years. So when I was young, I would go to clubs and I would watch him play, just watch him, study him, and I'd listen to the records. And he played so many instruments, he played all kinds of instruments. But this was one that was really great at. And the technique, you know, you can just do this, right? So that, I'm familiar with that. Anybody can do that, right? Just go back and forth in time. Now, if I want to make an accent or I want to make a louder sound, I just go, right? So all my down beats can be here. 1, 2, the count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And I want to go up beat to do 1, 2, 3, 4, all up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You know, so you can, just by the turn of the wrist, like you're turning a doorknob, that's the technique. It's this and this. And you can get these. These are not expensive, and you can look them up online. C-A-X-I-X-I. Some music stores have them. They're becoming more popular now. And I think if you're into music, and really, doesn't matter what instrument you play, something like this really helps with rhythm and exploring kind of other possibilities. It's also something you can play with other people. But yes, very important. Any other questions about anything else over here? Okay, I'm going to play something that I like this word. There are many words for this instrument. It's called an empira, but some people call it kalimba. Kalimba is kind of like a generic English term for this instrument. An empira, thumb piano, finger piano, and they have different tones each time as a metal time. And this one I got at a gift shop in when I was touring with a band at a museum, like Cleveland Museum or something. And it's a tin can with a piece of wood and all the metal sort of like attached to it, to the body. This is from either Zimbabwe or Zaire, country in Africa, eastern part. Well, Zaire is actually Zaire is now the People's Republic of Congo. So I like the word Zaire, but it used to be Zaire. Another place where they have endurance. So as a percussionist, it's easy for me to just kind of pluck away at these. If you have a little bit of rhythm, you can really have fun just making some sound. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach this. This is a pickup. This is something that picks up the sound like when you play guitar. It has a pickup on it, you plug it into an amp. This is kind of a similar idea. It goes right onto the metal part of this, and then speaker. So what I'll do is I have this thing called a loop pedal, and what it does is it loops something when I feel like I got something going and I want to keep it going. Independently, I'll press the pedal down. So it's like spokes from a bicycle or a motorcycle, where they'll take spokes off of people go to the junk shop or somewhere and they'll find these little metal bars that come from, a motorcycle or a scooter or bicycle. They'll hammer them down, cut them, and fit them into this, and build this little box, and create their own little musical instrument. And this probably goes back thousands of years, And it's just fascinating for me, just a fascinating instrument. And I collect them. I probably have about 20 different ones. I have a large box of them, Any questions about the Mvira? So Mvira, the word that I like, Mvira, M-V-I-R-A. And kalimba is a more common term, K-A-L-I-M-B-A. And there are lots of other words depending on what tribe or what culture, what language you speak. The Kembe might be another one. There are bands that just play Mvira. And there are in Kinshasa, which is the city, the main city in the People's Republic of Congo, which I said is Zaire, former country Zaire. In Kinshasa, they have these nightclubs you go to, and people are playing these Mviras, like a band of Mviras. Some of them have big low notes. They sit on a box and boom, boom, boom. And it's like playing bass. And have these other ones, and they have them plug into amps and megaphones, and they just get this whole thing going. People go out and dance to this music. And it's really a really cool kind of movement, modern movement of like what they're doing with these instruments. But they originally, I was told, I did a little study about these, not enough to really know everything about them, but some of the words that they use to describe these, they call portable xylophone. Now, a xylophone is basically a xylophone, a wooden, xylophone is right. It's wooden mounted with mallets. Usually you see a band or orchestra. And they have these xylophones that are like made out of wood and bamboo, and they're just like sitting there, and they play them with mallets, and they have bands with those. They're bigger. So these are sort of their portable version of the xylophones, carrying around with them and play them wherever they may be. Easy to travel with. It's like an iPhone. A little portable instrument. Play around. So the pandeiro. This technique I learned again from really studying Brazilian music for a long time to get this technique. And there are a couple of different ways to play. Some people will just use their hand here and create sort of a rhythm. I learned this way. So what's happening here is my hand is kind of moving back and forth on the rim, and it kind of shakes the jingles. And here, I strike with my thumb, I strike the head, it makes a sound. It makes a lower tone. And when I want to change that tone, I press my finger up against the head, higher tone. And this is one of the rhythms that's kind of like the samba. All these people playing different instruments, this is happening. But this is kind of represents the samba. This is another technique where you rub your finger across the top of the head and you get it to vibrate. And it's just basically a little bit of friction, that makes the tambourine shake. It takes a while. If your fingers are really dry and the head of the drum is dry, you can't do it. If you're sweating and it's wet, it's another thing that slides. So you have to have just the right amount. Some people will put wax, the candle wax, just, rub it on, and that'll create a little bit of friction, and they can do that. And you can even do this with, on a drum sometimes, and like conga players will make that sound. But anyway, this is the Pandero, and it's a very self-contained, it's like having a drum set. That. And when I get into a microphone, I can really bring the tone out of it and create some more than a drum set. But so it doesn't take much. You don't need a big drum set to create some rhythm for a band. You just have one of these, or one of these, or some kashishi. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So the looper is just something that you can get a guitar store. Usually guitar players use this, and they plug their guitar into it, or bass, or any sound,